Hello everyone, welcome back to another video with me. My name is Cotton Candy Doll. If you're new here, welcome. Welcome. Oh, this is a shifting video. I've been holding him. He's been comforting me and making me feel better, but at the same time, I don't know how much better you can feel. I almost got when I went back to My Hero Academia. I don't want to give away spoilers. I hope I don't give away too much in my thumbnails, but and if you guys haven't already guessed, my thumbnails pretty much tell everything almost, like, completely. I'm also going to be keeping track of this video. It's going to be long. You might hear noises in the background. You might hear insanely happy laughter. You might hear stuff from outside, just to warn you before the video starts. I am going to jump right in. Is there anything else I wanted to share with you guys before I get started? I don't think so. Oh, one more thing. This video is going to be a little bit, no, actually a lot. This video is going to be cringy. This video is also kind of going to be kind of vulgar. Um, yeah, there's a lot of vulgarity in this video, and I'm gonna jump in and I'm gonna explain what happened. It was insane. Um, Probably like the pure form of madness, if you can ever imagine like what madness actually is. And I did have a drink, but it's behind me. Yeah, it's definitely behind me. Let me move this out of the way. Hopefully the camera doesn't blur. I absolutely hate doing that. Like, I hate when I forget to like move it over. Okay, I shifted to Toshinori's house. He was dressed in, sweatpants and a sweatshirt. So I went, oh, you have the day off. And Toshinori goes, no, I still have to go to the school, but unfortunately, I'm not going to be teaching today. I'm just going to pick up some paperwork. And I wanted to talk to you about something. If you want, we can have the conversation here or we can have it at the school. So we're sitting down, we're having our breakfast, I'm drinking a coffee, and I said, oh, well, just give me some time to decide on. I was like, I'll figure out what we'll do when we're done eating. So, we're having our breakfast and stuff and having my coffee. Toshinori takes his coffee with sugar and stuff now, which is amazing. Sugar and creamer. I told him, you don't like anything in your coffee. What made you want to, change your coffee? Like, how can you just change your full taste or whatever? And he said this because it's what you like. Okay. So we're sitting there and he looks at me again and he goes, I need to tell you something before we leave, before we go up to the school, before you make a decision about where we want to talk. And I go, okay, what is it? And he said, it's about Frodo. And so, sorry guys, my nose, just, as soon as I get on camera, I swear. So he's like, it's about Frodo, and I involved. So there's like 3 other people involved besides me. That was what Toshinori told me. So technically, there's like 4 people involved now in dealing with Toshinori, me, and Frodo. And you guys know about Frodo already. If you watched my other video, you found out. And this is. So I asked him. I said, "Well, who are the other people?" He said, "You don't know the other 2 people. You haven't met the one who can snatch him from that realm. You haven't met him yet. His quirk has to be amazing, right?" And he said, "You haven't met the good doctor." And I said, "Who's the good doctor?" And he's like, "You'll meet him, but I wanted to ask you, would you feel comfortable talking here at the house, or would you feel comfortable talking in the school?" And I was like, well, I had to go there anyway to pick up some paperwork from the office. Principal Nezu puts out a schedule for me every week, but it's usually at the end of the week. They usually have it out by Friday, so I can look at it and I can tell what the course curriculum is going to be for the children that could possibly end up in my class that week. That way, I have everything kind of prepared for him. I mean, prepared for them when they get ready to come in. So, like, I'm thinking about it and I'm like, I think I want to have the conversation at the school. We can have it in my class, since my class is like in the back. I'm not getting any students today, you know, because it's not a work day for me because of probation. So I'm supposed to return there again on Monday, but I have no idea what the curriculum looks like because I haven't seen it yet. So we finished eating, and Toshinori is like, "Are you really okay with other people knowing about Frodo?" Or, and I said, "Why?" He says, "Well, I told one other person besides the people you're going to meet today. Hawks also knows because I tell him everything." And I said, "Oh, so Hawks is like your best friend or something?" And he's like, "Yeah, Hawks is, you know, yeah, we have that kind of relationship where we tell each other everything." And I go, "Okay, well, that's cool. You know, I have friends and stuff too. You know, I don't have a lot of friends. You know, really, I can only count like three, and then there's my maid cafe family. So, anyway, we go up to the school, and I go to the end of the hallway, and I'm like, I'm just gonna wait in my classroom for you guys when you get here. So I grab my paperwork. I speak to Principal Nezu on the way in, and he's like, "Hello, Cotton Canada." And I'm like, "Hi." And he's like, "I wanted to give you this basket. It's a basket of stuff, basically, that like I guess the kids got together and made me like a basket from the classrooms that I've been going to because they're really sweet." And there was a note on it that says "greatest teacher ever." And I was like, "Who said greatest teacher?" Like, it made me smile. So I was in my room alone opening up this gift. And then in the back it says, um, "We can't forget that you're a hero too." And I said, "I can't forget that I'm a hero too." And it's like, I don't feel like I'm a hero. I feel like I'm just there. And it's such a weird feeling. Like, I don't know how to explain it because I don't really use my quirk. I haven't had to use my quirk while I was there. So I'm sitting there and I'm organizing all my stuff, and then I sit down and I'm just waiting because Toshinori said he would bring back everybody in the room to talk with me. So the seats are like perfect because it's a movie theater setting. So they all come in finally, and I open my door and I'm like, "Hello," because I didn't want to leave my door open. I wanted to hear when they came in, even though the door is literally like right here, and my desk is here. I still, you know, I was sitting down and stuff, and you know, just reading through some of the stuff that was there. Also, my desk had in it like blank papers, construction paper, basically a lot of like artsy craft type stuff, even though I didn't have an arts and craft class. So there was like color markers, color pencils. I couldn't really find any pens in there. I had to go in Principal Nezu's office to get like a pen. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna explain. So this video, guys. Okay, so I already warned you guys about it. Okay, so you know. Um, So they walk in. I'm like, "Nice to meet you." I shake hands with the. I know Hawks. I'm like, "Hey, Hawks." He's like, "Hi." And then the other two guys. One of them's really tall, um, blonde guy, like long hair, and his hair is like all the way down his back. And he goes, "My name is Dr. Shivs." I'm like, "Dr. Shivs?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay, nice to meet you, Dr. Shivs." And I said, "Who might you be?" And the other guy, he has dark black hair, and it's kind of curly, and his eyes are like a deep blue. So he looks at me. He's wearing like all black and black pants. So I'm getting kind of a weird like vibe for him from him. But I'm trying to guess. I'm like, so of course this person is the good doctor, the one with the blonde hair and whatever. He introduced himself. And the other one must be like the reality guy that's gonna snatch Frodo, which is perfect. So we're standing around and they're like, "Okay, well, why don't we have a seat?" So we all sit down, and I kind of sit like in the front since I'm like the person, like the main person centered around, like the main person the conversation's like centered around. So we're sitting there and hug. We're sitting there and they're like, um, so the first person to speak is the reality guy, the snatcher, whatever. I'm just gonna call him the snatcher. So the snatcher speaks. He's like, So we went to go see Frodo. And I said, who went to go see him exactly? And he goes, I went to go see him. I took along Dr. Shivs with me, and Hawks tagged along too. And Hawks is like eyeing me, like he's eyeing me, like I noticed like he keeps like looking at me. And I'm just thinking like, okay, you know, he's obviously never been in a meeting before. So this whole thing is just like completely new to him, I guess. Anyway, they're like, yeah, we went to go see Frodo. And we went in a way where no one could see us, but we could see him. We got a close look. And we think that you made a good choice in wanting to rescue him. And I said, okay, well, when is the soonest that, when is the soonest we can get him? Like, when is the soonest that I can get this infant out of this horrible situation and possibly bring him here, I guess. I said, because I don't really know where else I would. I said, right now, the Umbrella Corporation, where he is, I don't want to say that's the best place. And Hawks just says, he like, I'll burst. That's a terrible place for him. And I'm like, okay, well, I was talking to them. I'm like, so anyway, you guys. And then Hawks is like, Toshinori, did you tell her what she needs to do? And Toshinori's like, oh, I haven't had a chance to like really talk to her. And then Dr. Shiv, he holds up his hand. He goes, hold up a second. We haven't even finished explaining everything yet. And Hawks is like, we don't have time to like sit here and try and explain to you everything. We need to go get him right away. We need to grab that infant out of there. No infant should be there. I watched what they were doing to him. He was suffering. And then Satoshi's Nori is like, Hawks, calm down. Just calm down a minute. He's like, do you need to leave the room? And Toshinori's like, come on, let's go out of the room. And he goes, I don't want to leave. I want to stay here. And the Dr. Shivs looks at him and says, I think you need to go for a minute. And then you can return when we're done talking. We wanted to finish explaining everything to her first. And Toshinori's like, but I haven't had a chance to tell her. And they were like, we'll tell her. So they leave out of the room. I'm sitting there with Dr. Shivs and a reality snatcher. Gosh, Albert. Anyway, we're talking. And they're like, so we can go and rescue him if we want. But it's going to take, if we do it my way, it'll take longer for us to get him. And I said, how long are we talking? And he's like, 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh, well, I was hoping that we can get him sooner because I know he's attached to all those tubes. Are you sure we only have about 2 weeks? And then Dr. Shivs looks at me and he goes, there is another way. And I go, what is it? He said, I have this, so I have this antidote and I made it. And what it'll do is, Mr. Snatcher here, he will take part of his DNA, place it into this tube, and he can reconstruct it in that tube. But what it'll do is it'll start to deteriorate. When it's in there, it'll start to deteriorate. So it would transfer his genetic code into that sample. Okay. And once part of his body has left that reality, it'll wind up here in this reality. Okay. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, so then let's do that then. He goes, wait, I'm not done. I said, what is it? And he's like, because he has such a toxic since he has such a toxic genetic code, it's not something that you could carry inside of you for a very long time. And it would have to be inside of a tube. So they hand me these two tubes. One is blue and the other is red. And the first one says, and the red one says like second dose, and the blue one's like the first dose. So basically it's kind of like a medicine. Okay. And he goes and he takes out a syringe and he's like, what I would do is inject this into the male carrier before conception. And when he ejaculates, part of the genetic code will go directly inside of you. But the incubation period is only an hour. So within that hour, I would have to inject a second dose, and then you would have to repeat the same process again. He goes, I tried to increase the incubation period for longer. And I'm like this, guys. I'm like, what? And he's like, you have to give birth to you have to give birth to him. You have to give birth to him here in this reality. But the incubation period is only an hour. So you have an hour to let the male penetrate you and release his basically Toshinori would if they did this to Toshinori, whatever, he had to release his love milk into me. And then I stopped. I'm like, wait a minute, wait guys. I go, I don't have a I was like, I don't have a reproductive organ to I can't produce the child. And then Dr. Shivs go, that's where I come in. And I'm like, I'm like, what does your work? And he says he can basically temporarily create something like that in me for a short period of time. And he tells me he can do it for about 3 hours, and it'll give me enough time to give birth to Frodo in this reality. And I asked him what were the risks, which I already knew the risk. So I already said no. Okay, I already decided no on this because there's too risky. It's too risque because risque. I'm gonna tell you why. First off, he's a bioweapon. If his genetic code, is toxic and the biohazard properties happen to leak out into my bloodstream, then I will become infected with the La Plagas. Okay, you know what that is, guys? That is a virus from Resident Evil 4. Also, there's a chance that the antidote he's using, that he's injecting the male recipient, who's going to be Toshinori, he will be injecting him with part of his genetic code, which could also infect him. So the risk of infection is actually 90%. There's a 10% chance, but they said that if I decide to do it, they could easily try and reverse the effects later. But there's no guarantee that I'll be able to come back from that. My biggest concern, I'm going to tell you right now why I think this is a bad idea. One, okay, first off, it's a bioweapon. Okay, I'm not going to put a bioweapon inside me. Everything is connected to you once it gets inside. Therefore, it's basically it's connected to you, so you're gonna get infected. Two, the serum might infect you, so you automatically might get infected. And three, even if they were to say I agree to this, say I decided to become a sacrifice. Say I sacrifice myself in that way. I give birth to this child and I bring them into that reality, into my Hero Academia. There's no guarantee that if they kill me, that's going to stop the infection from spreading. It could be so contagious that the person in the room with me, Hawks, Toshinori, anyone close to me could just grab it. And next thing you know, they got a hold of it and everyone's infected. Because the risk of infection is so great. Now, I already knew all this because I was there when this all happened. I was the one who created Frodo to begin with. So I already knew I knew that the risk of infection was way higher than 90%. It was almost basically like 100%. So I already decided, I wasn't going to do that. And I said, I think we're going to stick with our normal plan to go get him in 2 weeks. And the reality snatcher, Albert, says that's fine with me. It's just so sad to see him suffer the way he is. And so then I go, I know that Hawks saw the baby. What exactly did he see? And Dr. Shiv said he saw them cutting pieces of him off for testing. And my heart just dropped when I heard that because, they don't really need to do that. All they need is a sample of his blood. He is a bioweapon. You don't need a human. You don't need anything. And that was why I named him Frodo. I named him Frodo because so in Lord of the Rings, just like Frodo Baggins, the weight of the world was on his shoulders. All mankind was in his hands, okay? And it's kind of like that with this baby, with this infant baby Frodo Baggins, the same way. I created you for the purpose of protecting man, but not at the account of suffering. Like, I didn't know it would turn out to be an infant and that it would turn out to be an infant baby at that. If anything, I thought it would grow into a regular regenerator. So after their conversation, they went outside and they like opened the door. So they let Hawks in, and Hawks came and he sat down. And he goes, "So did you decide, when you want to start?" And I was like, um, "I'm not gonna do it. The risk of infection is too great." And Hawks goes, "I can't believe this. Like, you need to take the responsibility for what you did." And I look at him and I'm like, "I'm not." I go, "No." I go, "First off, I didn't even I wasn't trying to do that. Like, I was going along with everything, but I didn't have control over that at all. So it's not my fault that that happened." And he says it is your fault. It's your fault that it happened because you created this life and now you're abandoning abandoning it. And his voice is like cracking. He's like, "Please, please just give birth to this baby. Please give birth. Please rescue him. Please save him." And Toshinori goes, um, "Did you know that Frodo was did you know he was going to be that cute when you created him?" I'm like, "I had no idea that he was going to look like anything when I created it. I thought it was going to be a generator. I thought it was going to mutate into like, I don't know, like, you've seen those. Everyone hasn't doesn't play Resident Evil, but they're like these patches, these big, huge things that look like sacks, okay? They get bigger and bigger. And when they bust open, a generator comes out, okay? I've never encountered a baby freaking regenerator in any of the games, so I wasn't expecting that to happen. Also, like I said, I didn't have control over what was happening. I went along with it. I was one of them. I was Umbrella. So I was the head of Umbrella. Anyway, he's like, "I think you need to take responsibility for what you're doing. I can't let them hurt this child. We have to do whatever we can to save him. We need to save him right now. We don't need to wait another minute. We need to save him right now. Cotton Candy, you need to decide right now that you're going to save him." And I was like, "But the risk of infection is just too great. I would totally do it, but I can't." Because he goes, "Because you're running away from your responsibility." He goes, "What you're doing is cruel. They're torturing him. I watched him be tortured. I cannot watch a child be tortured like that." And then he starts crying. And he's like, "Please give birth right now. Please give birth to him." And so like Toshinori is like, um, she said she didn't want to. And he's like, "Just because she says no, you're gonna listen?" And Toshinori is like, she doesn't want to give birth. She doesn't have to. She doesn't have to do it. And then Haas goes, "I hear her telling you no all the time. Why is now any different?" And he's like, "What?" And then Hawks goes, "I've seen you drag her to one of the other rooms unwillingly. And I know what happens, of course. She didn't look like she was willing to go then. So technically, you don't really need to we don't really need to ask her. You can just do it." And Toshinori is like, "I'm no, I have she said she doesn't want to do it. She doesn't have to do it." And then Dr. Shivs goes, "Toshinori, because of your quirk, you could probably take both of the doses and get it done in one sitting. And then the baby will be here faster. Because and I don't think I explained this part to you guys, okay? I think I did. So the doctor has to be present during during the intercourse. He has to be present. So he's there to inject the second dose after the guy has reached his peak, and after Toshinori has filled me with his love milk, he's gonna inject him again with the second part so that he can inject that in, so he can I told you guys this video was gonna be like cringy and vulgar. I told you, okay? Anyway, Hawks is like, you don't have to listen to what she says, just force her to do it. You've already do that. And he's like, she said no. And then Hawks gets up and he's like, no, I'm not taking no for an answer. He's like, Toshinori, you need to do what you need to do. Tell her what she needs to do. You're gonna give birth today. You're gonna give birth to, and he's like talking to me like this, like you're gonna do it. You're gonna. So then Toshinori gets up like and gets in his face, and he's like, she does not have to do anything she doesn't want to do. And if you have a problem with it, you can take it up with me. So then Hawks looks around him at me, and he's like shaking his head, and like he's not really crying anymore. Now he's just angry. He's so angry he's like shaking, and he's like, God, can he die? He's like, I knew. He's like, I just knew you weren't gonna agree to this because I know you're not. I just knew you weren't going to. I knew you were gonna say no. I knew it. I just knew it. And I'm like, I'm sorry. He's like, you're not sorry. The baby is suffering right now. How can you say that you're sorry? And he goes, that's why I did what I did. Please forgive me for what I've done. And I'm like, what did you do? And Toshinori looks at him and he's like, no. I'm like, what? And then he just falls. Blam. Just falls on the ground. So Toshinori's laying on the ground. And I'm like, I go over and I run over to him. I'm like, Toshinori, wake up, please. And I'm like smacking his face, trying to get him to. He's not moving, guys. He's out cold. So I'm sitting on the floor and Hawks walks over to Dr. Shivs and goes, where's the antidote? And then, and Toshinori is like moving a little bit. He looks like he's trying to fight it, like he's trying to wake up out of this. And I hear Toshinori say, what are you doing? Hawks, what are you doing? And Hawks goes, if you won't do it, then I will. And he takes Dr. Shivs hands him the first dose and he freaking injects himself with it. And then he looks at me and he's like, Cotton Candy Doll, come. And he holds his hand out and I'm like, no. And he's like, she's not agreeing to what I'm asked to what I'm telling her what to do. And I'm down on the floor. I'm still with like Toshinori trying to wake up Toshinori because he's not getting up. And he's like, now he's faded completely out. He's not even moving or anything. He's still breathing at least. I can hear him breathing. So like he looks at the reality guy, the reality snatcher, Albert, and he goes, please do something about him because I can't have him waking up while we're in the middle of our session. Yeah. The reality guy takes him away somewhere. I don't know where he took him. And so like it's me, Hawks, and Dr. Shiv in the room. So I'm sitting on the floor where Toshinori just was, and I'm like, so I get up and I'm like, I can't believe you drugged him. He was your best friend. And Hawks like, I have to do. Hawks like, I have to do what I have to do. I need to rescue this baby right now. And then he starts walking toward me. So I stand up and I reach my arm up. And I reach into my light. Where is it? Where is my weapon that I keep? The small one. The tiny one. Here. And I hold the knife in my hands. And I'm in my fighting stance and I'm glaring at him because you know what? I'm gonna mess him up. After what he did to Toshinori, he's gonna be messed up so bad. And I'm not talking about the kind of mess up that Toshinori does to me. So Hawks goes, "What is that knife? What do you think that knife is going to do against me?" And he's like, "You can't stop me." And he keeps walking, and then Dr. Shields puts his hand down all of a sudden in front of him, and he's like, "Stop it." And he looks at me, and he's like, "You will not be able to plant your seed in her like this." And he's like, "It's just a knife." He goes, she's more dangerous than she looks." And I'm hoping that Hawks will just be like, "Whatever, I can handle it." But he doesn't. He like steps back, and then Dr. Shivs goes, "I'll handle this. And then when I'm done with her, she'll be ready for you." He goes, "The incubation period. There's only 58 minutes left." So only 2 minutes went by in all of this. So like I go around Dr. Shivs. Like I'm leaning forward on a ball of my toes. And the back foot is the same way. And I go around him, and I manage to swipe the end of a piece of his hair. So a piece of a Hawk's hair just starts falling. And then he kind of looks behind him, and he looks surprised a little bit. And then Dr. Shivs touches my shoulder, and I'm like, so my arm was out here, it like stopped moving. I was like paralyzed, and then my hand started shaking. And then he said, "Drop the knife." And I did this, and it fell out of my hand. Then I turned around, to try to face him. And he's like, "Cotton Candy Doll." He goes, "I can tell you're raging right now." He goes, "Do you realize that if you do that, and if you go through the procedure with Hawks, there's a good chance that you can mutate during intercourse?" And I was like, "I don't care." And he's like, "That means that will be the end of you, and it'll all be for naught." And I was like, "You will all be for naught. Like, I don't give a shit. You did this to me, you're gonna pay for this." And he's like, "I'm not gonna pay for this." And he waves his hand over, waves his hand over my eyes. And so like when he did that, I like all of a sudden Toshinori was there, guys. I saw Toshinori. I ran up to Toshinori, I hugged him, and we were in this pretty field. It was full of like roses. And so Toshinori had his back to me. And for some reason, like his clothes and everything weren't the same. They were changed. I guess he went home and changed them. So I walked up to Toshinori. I'm like, "Hey, Toshinori." He turns around and he embraces me with a hug. And then we're making out. And then he's like, I step back from him, and he's like, "Take off your clothes." And I go, "Okay." And I start like unbuttoning my shirt, because I put on like I dressed like a teacher for some reason, even though I knew I wasn't gonna be working. I had on a white button up, and I had on like I wore like this pin skirt or whatever. So yes, that's how I was dressed exactly. So anyway, I'm starting to unbutton my top. I get to my second button, and and I go, "Toshinori." He's like, "Yes." And I go, "I'm allowed to undress myself now?" He goes, "Yes. Yes, what, do you need help or something?" And I'm like, "No, I don't need any help." He says, "Get on with it then." And I unbutton the third one, and I'm watching him. So then I start going slower, like taking my time, like really slow, like, and he's like, "I need you to be a little faster." And I stop, and I go, "You're not Toshinori, are you?" He goes, "What are you talking about?" And he tries to walk up to me. He's like, "Babe, it's me." First off, you don't sound anything like him. What do you mean? Also, Toshinori told me I wasn't allowed to undress myself anymore. He doesn't let me undress myself. He either rips off my clothes, or he does it himself. Remember, he says I'm not allowed to do that anymore. You guys saw it in my other video. You guys were there when it happened. Yes, you guys were there when that intimate moment happened. And he said, "You're no longer allowed to undress yourself. I'm going to do it from now on," to try to take that extra, he wanted to take that extra pride away from me. So that's why he did it until I can touch him again. So I knew this wasn't Toshinori. So I have to, I have to snap out of this. And I reach up into my ball of light again. And like it's shining. And then everything around me changes back to my classroom. And I noticed the person standing in front of me is Hawks. It's not Toshinori. And I go, "You couldn't fool me." I take my knife out and I start swiping at him because he's trying to grab me. I'm like swiping at him and I'm like missing each one. Then I get his arm. I cut it. His arm's bleeding. Then his other arm is, and then I end up cutting his left arm. His left arm's bleeding. So then I start using my quirk. So now I'm flying around with the knife. I'm just cutting him all over. And Dr. Shivs tries to jump in. He tries to jump into the fight, and he gets cut in the knee. So then he falls, and he's like, "Hawks, I'm not sure this is a good idea anymore." And then Hawks, he had turned around, so he wasn't facing me anymore, and his head was down like this. And I go, "Hawks, are you okay?" He turns around, his freaking eyes are red. So Hawks' eyes are red. I open the door and I run out of the room. So I'm running down the hallway. He's like gliding behind me, like this, like gliding. And so like I go into the cafeteria and I'm like behind the so there's like a gate that comes down. I pull it all the way down and I'm staring at him through the fence and he's trying to like, but he's just running into it. He's just bam, like smacking into it. And then so I'm backing up even more. I'm not really looking behind me because like I feel like I don't really need to. The reality guy, the reality snatcher never came back. Like I didn't see him come back again. So I'm thinking maybe Toshinori woke up and maybe he got to him. Maybe. So I think like I'm pretty safe and secure in here. And then all of a sudden the thing, he grabs it. He grabs the so he grabs like the fence thing I put down and he just snatches the whole thing off and it goes flying off. And I'm like kind of scared. I'm like, so I'm frozen there. I'm like shaking. So then I call my guide and my guide does not respond. You see, the thing is, I was trying to call him earlier when this first happened before me and Hawks got into the fight. I tried calling my guide. He didn't come to me. And Hawks says, "I know you're trying to call him. He's not going to come to your rescue. He won't rescue you now." And so like now I'm like, I have like the knife in my hand, and I'm like, if he gets any closer, I'm gonna have to damage his Achilles heel, and he won't be able to walk. He'll have to fly everywhere he goes, and I would hate to do that. But then out of nowhere, my hands are like frozen in place, and I can't move them. And I look down and I see um, Dr. Shivs walking up, and he's like, "I had to resort to this," and he has his hand closed like this. So whatever his hands is doing, whatever they're doing, it's stopping me from being able to move. So I'm kind of stuck like that, but I'm like this. And so then Hawks pulls me like under him and he's like reaching underneath like my skirt and trying to like pull down my underwear and stuff. And he's having a hard time though because I don't think he can really see what he's doing. I think he's becoming like infected. And he managed to get them off and then like I'm just like, okay, well, prepare for like the worst thing that could ever happen to me. Am I really gonna have to go through this? Like, am I, and then he's pulling me again toward him, and I'm trying to like, I don't want to turn around, like, I don't want to be on my stomach. That's probably like the worst I could do. The best I could do is try to fight him off. So I'm like trying to kick him and stuff, and I'm not being successful. And then he puts all of his weight on me, and then he pushes me into him, and then, but before he can like do anything else, my guide pops up. I look over and like, so in the middle of like the cafeteria area, there's like tables and chairs around the room, but there's just one big space before you walk in. There's like a hallway. Dr. Shivs falls down on his knees and he looks up and he's like, "Who is that?" And I know right away he's like referring to my guide. So my guide comes. He walks up. Hawks can't see him from behind. He walks up and then he looks at me. And then he looks at Hawks. And Hawks looks up at him with his like red eyes. And my guide puts his hand through him and makes a fist. I don't know what he's doing. And then he pulls his hand out slowly. Then he looks at me. He puts his hand here on my chest. And then he lifts me up. And when he lifts me up, I see Hawks fall down and like he's unconscious. So, oh, and Hawks, his eyes also changed back to like their regular color. They were no longer red anymore. So my guide like shifted me out. And when he shifted me back here, the first thing I did was take us to our special place where we have our conversation, where we have our chat. I like begged him, please bring me to our special place so that we can talk, because I don't get that very often. I don't know why I don't get it often. We don't talk that often when we go there, like face to face in person, like his human form. I really only get his physical object form that I can ask her. He can ask me yes or no. But I'm still waiting for the opportunity to get to talk to him. He did rescue me, but I don't know what he did to Hawks. Um, I think that's the first time he's ever literally like touched someone with his hand, and I was really surprised that it went through. It's almost like he tried to like grab his heart, and I was afraid like he was gonna like rip his heart out or something, because my guy doesn't like um stuff like that, like over possessing, forcing me to do stuff. He would never go for that. Um, everyone, I wonder if you guys are thinking like, if she goes there and she's worried about getting infected, but this reality, some people think the realities aren't real, they don't really exist. Or let me give you an example of why I'm so cautious, of why I'm going to tell you guys why. This is very personal. This is I almost don't want to say it. I'll tell you guys because I'm going to do this live. I know already, so example, okay? Attack on Titan. My butt was bleeding and everything, okay? That's how real it was. Am I willing to risk Resident Evil, a virus from there getting out? If I'm telling you this now, okay, only when I shifted back from Attack on Titan, okay? My guide had to rescue me from there, but yes, that is what happened, okay? Yes, my ass. Um, I wasn't like completely penetrated, but it almost happened. I told you guys this video was gonna be cringy, right? Or vulgar. Yeah, I told you. But yeah. People who think that isn't real or it's like made up. No, not for me. I really go to these places, and a lot of the times I don't get a choice of what happens. Like what happened in Resident Evil 4 when I shifted there by accident. I don't get a choice what happens 90% of the time. Toshinori is the only place I can go to where I have full control over what happens. So now that I've shared what happened to you in a video, what do you guys think? Like, I'm trying to think, did I leave anything out? I think I told you guys everything. Hawks basically had like a freak out, and he was willing to do whatever it takes to save that infant, that baby. So, I mean, I don't know how to feel about him right now. I have no idea what happened to Toshinori. You know, I hadn't seen him before I left. My guy shifted me out of there so fast. Um, I don't know if Dr. Shiv is really a good guy. You know, it could be because he's a doctor. Maybe he was just curious as to see what would happen. me trying to explain the conception and all that stuff to you, I feel like that took a lot of time. Maybe I left out some details of things that happened. It was vivid and clear, and I was not asleep. Um, this is the first time anything like this has ever gone wrong in a universe where I wanted to go to that I had control over. All the other ones I don't really have control over. Even trying to go somewhere cute like Shugochara, that didn't work for me. So, I'm finding I gotta be more careful when I shift. That ball of light where I keep those two weapons, yeah, I have that. That's like my safe. That's like my safe, basically. My light safe where I keep them. I can just reach up and get them, and I'm safe. You guys can create something like that too, if you want. I actually, you know what? Someone made for me something else that's there. He created it for me, made it for me, told me to visually see it, and then he was able to describe to me my visual description of what was there, and it was accurate. It was 100% accurate. So I believe this guy really does have that ability to do that. So I have no reason to doubt it whatsoever. There was no way he could easily just read my mind and say, this is what it looked, and like see the pictures in my head that I see. That's just ridiculous, right? But hey, I mean, I guess he's just that powerful or that skilled. He can do that. Now, and my guide is over there. I don't really know how long this video was. I feel like it was really long. I hope I explained everything to you. I know I keep saying I hope I explained. I hope I didn't leave out any details. And I told you guys it was gonna be crazy, right? Yeah, crazy, vulgar, cringy. I forgot to tell you guys, get your snacks. Too late. Video's about to be over. Um, I don't know when I'm gonna shift back to Toshinori. I actually have no idea. I'm thinking of waiting. Maybe I'll wait a week. Um, because I used a little bit of my extra energy to help me fight, so I had to do that. So yeah, I don't know. Um, I was well rested all week. I had a great day. All week at work. Work wasn't bad. It was actually easier this week. But using your energy like this is gonna make you tired, regardless of how much work you do. So um, I'm going to end the video here. And I'm going to say, if you like the video, give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so that way you're notified of other videos when they become available. And I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm not really sure. That's going to be, I'm going to be 100% honest. I'm really freaked out by what happened. I really am. Like, I have to take responsibility, like, for what I did. The thing is, like, I told myself I was not going to feel guilty for anything I had no control over because I have no control over it. I can't, if I felt guilty, if I walked around saying, oh, it's so terrible that I did that, oh, I'm such a bad person in this reality, people would think I was nuts. I mean, they don't believe in this stuff. They don't believe there's another reality that exists. They definitely don't believe you can travel there. And so if I was to spew that nonsense to them it would be nonsense. They would say, um, they would try to tell me I should check myself into like a mental hospital, to like a psychiatric ward. And that's why I said, like, I don't really talk to anyone about this except you guys. If you want, you can join my Discord. I'm gonna put that in the link below. Also, the Twitch people I follow on Twitch. I'm gonna leave that in the description too, in case you get bored and you want to do something fun or watch someone play some fun games that are exciting. Don't forget to visit MaidSpare. She has mommy's milk. The anime con this year, we're going to be doing it online as well. So you guys will be able to watch from home. You'll be able to join in. Just go to Anime STL. I know this is random. I just threw this in here, but I wanted to share it with you guys. I'm going to be performing on stage. Yay. So maybe you'll get to see me. So like the songs I'm working on, I really need to practice because I don't have them completely down yet, but Guys, I don't know what to do about Toshinori. Like, I have no idea what to do when I go back there. Like, I don't know if I should tell Toshinori what happened. I have no idea. I really might wait a week. I might wait an actual week. I don't know. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I keep trying to end it. I'm so sorry, guys. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm gonna end it here. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good day. Bye.